So, yesterday I needed to get the juices going, so I used some of my detractors as a tool, as a prop for myself. Not so much so I can exploit them, but more for me to explain more in depth why I react the way I do, and also put to rest any rumors, but also to get the brain going. Because if you don't face your demons, literally and figuratively, if you do not face your demons, they will deal with you and commandeer your reputation. And so you need to face your demons every so often if you need to derive some kind of intellectual benefit from their energy that they're giving you, because they're giving you gifts. Doesn't mean you always take the gifts, but you acknowledge that the gifts were there for you, and you can convert that information, you can convert that energy into whatever you want. And that's the power, that's the magic of the JJ meta mentality, is you taking information and converting it to your benefit. So then with all of that activity, and then me talking last night in a really long monologue about just everything, and then it clicked this morning, because I was talking about, well, I was reading about suppressor T cell, or T cell regulation. What the hell is T cell regulation? See, there's a lot of jargon in PubMed, in biotech, because there are advanced words out there that tell you exactly how the word before the word modifies the noun. So a T cell regulator, or regulating T cell, is a T cell that is being suspended from its duties of attacking. It's allowing growth. So then again, I had to reverse engineer and be like, okay, T cell suppressor, because I read that somewhere. How does growth happen? Okay, so you eat food, and if people can't deal with the food, well, why is that? Why can't they deal with food? Because food is food, right? No, because the T cells were programmed to attack that food protein because it was used as an antibiotic. So then how is someone able to take on the food and it doesn't develop inflammation and mucus? Oh, because the body recognizes it as a food source and suppressed any kind of supposed T cell attacks. And that's the T cell regulation. That's your body regulating that T cell. That's like a policeman regulating somebody who's out of control. Because here's the thing, life wants to live. Growth wants to happen. If you allow a bunch of sheep to grow, and you give them all the food, give them all the water, give them all the space, they will become, and you had endless amounts of resources to keep those sheep alive, they will multiply and multiply. Because even if, they'll still procreate, because there's changes in the environment. When something is cured, it won't replicate. It won't reproduce, right? When you're cured, you're frozen in suspension. So you're not, so even though my hormones maybe calm down, they're not completely just eradicated. But when someone has a programming in their body based upon some kind of therapy, and that therapy was using specific hormones to turn things on or turn things off, or that little hormone or that little microbe that was programmed to turn hormones on and off, whatever, replicate, and there isn't any kind of regulation within that hormone. This is where people are a certain kind of hormone on steroids. That's where the extreme love, hate, sexuality, depression, and so anyway, so then I'm like, oh my God. So even though I characterize the immune system as one large negative, it's supposed to have positives to it. But remember, we're living in a world that is declining. We're living in a world that we're under attack left and fucking right, and people's immune systems are attacking each other. So of course I'm going to have that perception that your immune system, your lymphatic system, is one large negative, because it's been used that way. But what if it didn't have to be used that way? What if you actually had a balance of positive and negative? in your immune system where you had a bunch of T cell regulators that weren't attacking your every food supply, that wasn't attacking your environment, that wasn't attacking your lifestyle? What if you can go out there and you didn't have to mucus up every single time you were around somebody, a person, place, or thing, or environment? That we haven't figured, we have not lived in that world yet. Because everyone's immune system is under some kind of therapy, whether it's something that's like oncological, like that aggressive therapy, or they're in an outpatient, inpatient, or they're using over the counter, or they're using a holistic remedy with their naturopathic and homeopathic. And so when you have humans who have been under some kind of therapy ever since antiquity, whether it was opium, cannabis, because they were saying that it was used back then you're never going to, you won't see humans understanding their immune system can be a balance of positive and negative, allowing for growth and also allowing for suspension of growth. But then this is where biotech figured out how to commandeer the immune system, how to splice and dice the different defense departments in your body, the different defenses against every type of system in your body. And you have to have proteins. All the viruses that have the programming need a host. So let me give you another example, like with my computer. I had to figure out how I was going to explain Bill Gates and his Microsoft, and then all the antivirals and all that stuff, software and all that. I'm like, okay. So I'm saying that my computer is one large viral operating system, but we've characterized viruses as a large negative, but yet I am seeing stuff that is like positive. What is that positive? Well, I'm typing in information. I'm using the internet. I'm emailing. I'm doing live videos. And so something's allowing growth to happen, production to happen, right? It's the programming. But then when something comes in and tries to go and hack in or attack or replicate or try to insert another type of programming, then there are defenses that are built into the computer, built into my phone, built into everything that I'm using electronically to stop those attacks. So there are T cell regulators allow me to type stuff information in and use the system the way it was designed to be used. And then there are antiviruses that are used to protect me from the Trojan virus, from any other type of virus. And so then when you think about it, T cells and B cells can be allowed to express and allowed to suppress. But remember, we're coming from such a negative in our society where the immune system is used to protect you from everybody else. But everybody else is spewing out different protection of which you have to then protect yourself against them again in some other fashion. And so I'm just going to read, I'm going to go back and read. And so that's why I can't say one therapy. I can't be discriminatory and say one therapy is like the devil. It's all the therapies that are the devil because people weren't trained how to deal with evolution. They were always using cures to stop them from evolving. And when you're using cures to stop you from evolving and from adapting and from growing and developing, then eventually the immune system is going to be one large negative and it will cannibalize you because you'll have so many T cells and B cells that are attacking you or blocking the information, and that could be also the nutrients in the food supply. So when someone can't emails or they can't use their private messenger or they can't use certain features, and because it's under attack, a programming, a virus where it's able to worm its way in and block you from using your devices the way it was meant to. That's exactly what happens when people are eating food and they're around someone who used food as medicine and they took on that microbe that then attacked that nutrient that you just ate because they were using that same food as medicine. The body designed a weapon against that food protein. And so the only way that so this is what the therapies market does then. They go and take whatever they developed. So they go and create a weapon against that food or use the food as a weapon against the body. And that's called oncology. And so now you have a food allergy in the population. So now there's a food allergy. Someone has a peanut allergy. Then they go to the therapies market. They go get then a T cell regulator to suppress that peanut T cell expressor or suppressor, however you want to look at it. Because it's attacking, so it's really suppressing. And so when you're suppressing something, it's going to develop mucus because it's developing proteins. It's attacking something that sees as an enemy. So then the therapies market goes and tries to reverse their conclusion, which was the oncology, and then use another therapy to try to go and reverse that. That's why I couldn't use the word reverse, even on my business page as far as cancer, disease, and chronic illness. I can't say anything about cancer, disease, and chronic illness on my business page, because that is only left for the FDA-approved therapies that go in and commandeer and program viruses, T cells and B cells. And so there's T cell regulators, which suspend the intentions of the attacks, which allow for growth. Okay? And so, let me read this. So I'm getting this in my head. Let me tell you, this is not easy because we have to layer by layer understand everything. So viruses can be programmed to be both the expressor and the suppressor based upon how the T cells are programmed to attack or suspend operations of attack and allow for growth. My Samsung always makes me repeat words. The talk to text. The cures market stops people from evolving to the extent of advancing themselves exponentially, indefinitely. And so all the therapies are programmed to attack, turn the immune system into one large defense department until there's nothing else to attack or defend, because there is no more growth. You stopped it with all the different therapies. Life wants to live, and it will be insistent in trying to live if you're trying to attack it with the cures, with the therapies, with all the different remedies. And so then what does biotech do? They go and find an oncological type of remedy that is tailored for that specific algorithm. And then now you have just created now another unique defense department attacking something that someone is going to be exposed to. Because here's the thing, you're releasing that defense department into the population. Someone picks it up, it replicates, and now we have a new exotic disease that they have to go and create another therapy for. So life wants to live, and life will reproduce excessively if it is not curbed by some force that provides limitations, so it doesn't become out of control. So the human body is under a genotypical category, and it has certain programming translated into phenotypical characteristics, like red hair, black hair, blue hair, whatever. Well, not blue hair. Okay? Which can be changed if you're willing to go through the pain of transition, but most people don't last that long because they allow their body to decline before they experience any kind of phenotypical change. Both your adaptive and your innate system can be programmed with positive allowing growth and negative suppressing growth based upon the blueprint of the body and all the different viruses commandeering your hormones, turning them on and off. Viruses are the intelligence, and they give programs to suppress or express certain types of programming relative to the intention. You can manually nip and tuck someone with different viruses, with different viral suppressors and expressors, and or the human releases it all the different compound programming on top of the programming and responds to their own defense system properly, okay, without the assistance of therapy. So, okay, or the human releases all the different compound programming on top of the programming and responds to their own defense system properly without assistance of therapies. So you can have somebody go and nip and tuck you, and that's what happens. That's what the Scarecrow and the Tin Man were. They were the humans that needed somebody to maintain their existence. They needed someone to go and attack and counterattack, and then allow to grow and then not allow to grow. And so then the person's at war with themselves, and of course they're at war out there. And so you don't have to be a Scarecrow or a Tin Man. That's the thing. But the thing is, you have to go get away from all the remedies. Try to tell someone who's all against big pharma, who's all into the holistic and the cannabis and all the different remedies, even using jade juice as a cure. Try telling them that you can't use any more remedies. You have to now deal with the mucus and releasing the programming because you're surrounded by 7.9 billion people under different therapies. And they're just like, you're crazy. Because remember, they want to be out there. They want their freedom. Okay, you want your freedom? It isn't free. You got to pay for it, and you'll pay with your life because you are surrounded by people who has had their immune system programmed to attack every single thing out there because they have issues. They have personal protection. And so so that's why I get the mucus when I'm out there. That's why even overnight I'll get mucus. Even when I'm not outside or out there in the public or around my husband, I'll go outside and breathe in the air. Yeah, I'll have maybe a cigarette or two relative to whatever I'm doing as far as listening to myself and learning from myself. And so overnight, my body goes through the reparations. It goes through the release process, the growth process. I hear my dog cough. Okay, she sneezes. Her body, her defenses have to go and do what it has to do. And so if you want to allow the intelligence of your body to release things when it needs to and to retain the fat, the fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, and also release the excess so you don't turn into one giant blimp or be wasted way down to nothing, then you have to know how to release. And yes, that's through your mouth. If you have to, well, not through your mouth, through your nose and throat. If you have to, as far as releasing the mucus through your nose and your mouth. And sometimes you have to go and manually figure out your sphincter because that also has been atrophied. Because those are the two lines of defense and retention bringing in. Because not all the exit points have become exit points. They've also become entrance points for some people. And I'm not putting any judgment call on it. Everyone has their own thing. But both mouth and both anus are exit and entrance points for people. And that's no different than a T cell being suppressed or allowed to be expressed. And so now you have to understand the world that you live in. Okay? So when you have so many people, again, on therapies that are attacking anything that has a certain viral algorithm, you're welcome, Annie, then you now realize that you're going to be under attack and you don't want to be out there. And if you are out there, then you're going to have to recover and realign your body because you will take on someone else's therapies against their own body and using the food and the food supply to do that, which then renders your food ineffective if you allow that programming to take over. And so it took me such a long time to figure this out. Because I did have a little thing that showed the immune system with the positive and negative, but I made it so simple. I simplified it too much. I said, oh, the innate system is positive and the adaptive is negative. No, they both work hand in hand based upon the intention. You have the T cells that have the antigen programming, the autoantigen programming, and it could be a T cell regulator autoantigen. So that way you can take on the food and the food supply and you can develop and grow and become advanced and intellectually smart and all this other stuff. And then there's the T cells that aren't being regulated, that are making sure that you have a defense system, and they're also supposed to have some kind of a pepticist on some level relative to what's going on. And then you create the B cell memory so your body remembers how to do stuff, remembers that it's not supposed to go into major inflammation when you're around your dog. My dog and I have already assimilated to each other. If I had any allergy from her, it would have been when we first met. But she's assimilated to me. But now if we bring in, my husband comes and brings home a new virus, then she has to go assimilate to it, and so do I. But she's not making us assimilate to her because she's the one that's sitting here all day long. We went out walking the other day, so maybe she might pick up stuff along the way. Because she's sniffing, and the fire hydrants and the telephone poles and the grass, and so she's picking up whatever other dogs are leaving behind. And so she brings home stuff that then I have to go and adapt to and assimilate to. So who knows what my mucus is releasing, what kind of programming I was exposed to, because there's so many things in the environment that are microbial and you don't know the programming behind it. And so T cells and B cells are the programming that are the positive and negative. And so this is why you have to be very, very careful around your friends and family. This is why you almost have to release yourself from society. I said that last night, man. I did that video last night. It was such a long video. Okay? It was such a long video. When man has no natural enemies, you must develop a natural enemy from man. Viruses come from men developing antibiotics against other men's DNA and watch them go to war waiting for the best man to win. The strongest prototype would be the one to lead the human race. It is survival of the fittest. Because there's enough programming for you to stay alive. I mean, people are under all these different therapies and yet they're doing okay, right? They're like, okay, well, you say these are all poison and I'm still alive and I'm still functioning. Well, you might get cancer later. But that's the same thing as someone who doesn't deal with the viruses they get exposed to. And they're using all their remedies in the remedies market. And they're doing the same thing as those that are under other therapies that are more of a formal therapy. Both are holding those little T cells and B cells inside of them, and they're not always working to their benefit. They're not always being suppressed. If you suppress all your T cells, then you'll have excessive growth. But then they're using the T cell regulators for cancer therapies. Well, the reason why you have cancer is because you're under so many antibiotics and so many other therapies that are attacking you that the body's going to want to tip the balance, or body's going to want to balance it out and produce growth. And so then when the body's trying to produce growth and you're and you're under antibiotic resistance, which is why you have cancer, then you have to go to the big guns. You have to go to the pharmaceutical grade where they actually have to tailor a therapy for you. So it does attack that growth. And you could be like 35 years old and you caught it early. And so you're like, okay, I won. I survived the cancer. I survived the therapies. I'm on my merry way. And I changed my diet now. I don't eat anything. I don't eat anything processed. I eat all vegan and I'm doing all this meditation. So they think they have a new lease on life, which, okay, yeah, I guess relative to your perception of what you did. But they are on the decline. Because now they're under a therapy that's going to attack that specific algorithm, which means that they didn't take in the intelligence, and so when their body's excessively attacking something and they have atrophied this lines of defense, or they wouldn't use the therapies to begin with, and they atrophied down there, the anus lines of defense, they're holding that stuff in. They're holding that stuff in, and it's going to cannibalize them. Then you can characterize the immune system to be one large negative because the amount of therapies are under. Because the reason why, again, you get cancer is because you have so many antibiotics in your system. The reason why there's autism and all the different diseases because of all the different therapies that have turned hormones on and off and caused the lack of memory to where kids are declining cognitively. They don't even remember how to eat. They have to relearn everything. Yeah, thanks, Annie. And so now you have to almost understand the JJ meta mentality. You have to understand that you can't cure yourself, even with the J juice. And that's another layer of programming that I am desperately trying to get across to the people in my world. That you can't use J juice as a cure, even among all these therapies and remedies out there. Even though J juice is an equilibrium, but remember, cures fall under the laws of thermodynamics, entropy. The third law says a body or an object in a closed system that's cured will not survive a dynamic environment. That's why I can't advertise Jilly Juice as a cure, because first of all, it's not supposed to be used as cures because cures are deadly. you're not taking in information, then you will be declining because the environment's going to cannibalize you. And so you have to understand that jade juice is only a catalyst. Once you don't feel anything anymore when you're on the jade juice, you're cured, which means that, okay, but now you need to let that cure wear off because it's not going to serve you very well. But what people do is they're like, oh my God, they have a new lease on life. They can work, they can go out there and hang out without feeling stuff, right? And so that's the curse, is that you're given from 8 o'clock to midnight to enjoy hanging out with the prince and dancing with the prince and making him fall in love with you. But when the clock strikes midnight, everything will be as it was before, which means that the cure is going to wear off. That's what cures are. They're the curses. They're the spells. They're the gifts. Okay? So you have to understand that being cured in this dynamic environment is not, and then you have to question, it's not the way to go, but then you have to question everything. You have to question now you going out there all the time. You have to question your kids hanging out with different people. You seriously have to question your movements. And you have to be aware of your mucus. When you're around certain things and you get mucus, you know you're under attack because your body's building a defensive system against it. And there's also T-cell regulators in there, so you have no idea what is regulating your T-cells, which T-cells are being regulated, which T-cells are being suppressed. You're getting so much programming that something could be like a T-cell suppressing your growth ability in your heart, or suppressing the reinforcement of different organs, the growth to allow you to keep maintaining. So you could be taking on someone's programming that had cancer in the liver, and they used a specific protein, and so then you're getting somebody's protection against that protein that allowed the cancer growth. And also you're getting whatever protein that was used. And it could be an elemental protein. It could be, a food protein. And so double whammy, now you have something attacking your liver. And also, because remember, oncology is about attacking human DNA. So if someone has liver cancer, they're taking a weapon against their DNA. And it's being released out there into the universe. And then when you're around people, you don't know what is being regulated or what is being suppressed because of so many different therapies for so many different things. Therapies for oncology, therapies then to produce growth because you need to have some kind of growth. That's the DNA in people. It's the therapies they're under and then what has allowed their body to grow. So that's why I'm getting more intelligent, because my body is releasing all the attacks, all the antibiotics, all the things that were attacking people, and I'm taking on people's intelligence. And so everything that was all swimming around kind of like in a chaotic form is finally coming together. But it's taken a while. It's taken every single time I have to get sick from a new variant. People don't want to acknowledge that you get smarter from understanding this virus by facing the demons. So the only thing so for them, if they can't wrap their mind around that you can get smarter from new viruses without using the medical system, then they'll chalk it up to me smoking pot. So that's what I was combating yesterday, because they didn't understand the mucus. They thought that mucus is only from when someone smokes pot and does drugs and does these things, because they can't wrap their mind around that you have to face these viruses. You have to face the pain. You have to face the fucking demons. So yesterday I took it upon myself to then face that demon. And he's not really a demon, but he definitely is relentless. I have to be immunized against him. I have to put down blocking measures. I have to put down so many boundaries around these saviors, the protectors of our society, who are actually very deadly, because they will try to destroy someone. They will hunt somebody through the internet and try to destroy it. And that's the thing about The Walking Dead. They understood what was going on. The Walking Dead understood that the saviors and the protectors, right, relative to your perception of what you're saving people from, what you're protecting people from, have become the attackers. They are the ones that you now need to be immunized against. And you're like, well, the specific mandates, well, we're trying to protect people from doing it. But you're discriminating. Do you realize that it's not just the mandates? It's everything they've ever done or are doing in lieu of those mandates. So if they're not doing that V, they're going to be doing some kind of turmeric and honey and apple cider vinegar. And if it's not that, it'll be a fucking supplement. If it's not that, it'll be cannabis. If it's not that, they'll be taking out organs. If it's not that, they'll be doing other antibiotic stuff. So discriminating against a specific therapy is not acknowledging that it's the whole therapies market that should be really challenged, not just one. Just like you don't discriminate against a specific race or creed or culture. If you have issues with humans, it's all the humans and all of their idiosyncrasies and their practices. And that's equally, not just one. And that's the short-sightedness of the saviors in our society, of the protectors. They're heavily into discrimination. And then they go attack someone like Bill Gates or Dan Andrews or Boris or Biden or Trump. And that's the smoke and mirrors. That's the distractions. That's from the think tanks that don't want you to really understand the root cause of why all this is happening. But The Walking Dead did apologize. They said they know that they created some monsters in our society. They know it. You've seen them. There are so many monsters in our society that you have to be immunized against when you think about it. But you don't immunize yourself against your own body's way of trying to adapt. But that's how the protection has turned into something that's deadly. And then people's activism doesn't become protection and awareness anymore. Now it becomes what used to be a savior becomes a Satan. And you see the aggressiveness in people. I experienced it. I was aggressive myself. If you didn't do the J-Juice or wasn't doing it the way I was doing it, I came down. I believe me, I know how exactly I behaved and acted. So I'm not exactly innocent in all this too, but remember, we're being taught by people who know how to commandeer people's minds and bodies and psychological operations, and it is a process to peel back the layers by layers by layers. And then you start questioning your politics, your religion, your science. You question everything. And then you're like, shit. You look at your family and your friends. You look at your associations. You look at your occupation. You look at all your extracurricular activities. And you're like, oh my God, we are in a major transition. We are in a major transition to a new simulation. And it means you're going to have to do so many things differently. How many people are going to actually do things differently out there? That's why I'm not super popular, because people have their addictions. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm just going to assume that I'm not. I'd rather assume that I'm not popular than assume I'm popular, because when you think about, when you look around you, people love their lives. They want to stay in their life for as long as possible. Even when their body is breaking down and they get indicators or bodies are breaking down, they're not going to change. So then you realize that people are not really going to change, and you just have to allow it. And you can drop seeds, but even the seeds are, if someone doesn't water them, they're not going to fucking grow. But you still be the example. Thanks, Annie. So you be the example. I have to keep my dog alive, and I'm now going to be adding the kibble plus the wet food, because I got her down to a prototype. But I had to battle. They think, Jillian destroyed her dog with Jilly Juice. I know that's what's going on out there. That's what people are saying out there. I know it because they're into making correlation equals causation. They don't understand all the different action, reaction as far as the environment, as far as this virus. And also her predispositions. You have been bred with so many predispositions. You have been bred with a heavy Defense Department. And you are not only taking on your parents' predispositions and whatever they did as far as their therapies, but your community is also contributing to your defense department. So you don't know what your body's defending against the food supply. And so she has been bred with predispositions by, I don't even know where she came from. I got her from the ASPCA, but where she came from before that, I have no idea. But then I'm seeing people on my Facebook breeding animals. Their pit bull or their dog had like a litter of 11 fucking puppies. And they are selling them all on the open market. And so these poor animals don't stand a chance. You hope they get a good life, but you know how people are out there. I don't like walking around my neighborhood too much because there's a lot of people's animals are barking at everything. My dog doesn't bark at anybody unless they're coming to the house and she sees them through the window or something. But she doesn't go and act. She saw a rabbit out there and she didn't do anything. You're like, oh, you bred that out of her. No, I'm trying to deal with all the predispositions, all the therapies from the vet, from all the different, just what people do to make the dog a specific way, to have a specific behavior, a specific personality. And so I had to deal with all of her predispositions. And I'm telling you, the last couple of years was crazy. Because remember, animals and humans have certain predispositions like hip dysplasia, like seizures, like tumors and cancer and all these different things, you know, Cushing's disease and diabetes. And I mean, all these animals have the same diseases as humans. You're like, well, what the hell? What's going on? Because they're not that different as far as their biological systems. They're still made up of viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. And so now I got her down to her prototype. Her little bubble on the back of her head, you know, came off. She's a little skinny, of course, because she had to go through all those different energetic sequences of the stupid seizures. Okay? And so now it's building her back up. But if I were to try to stop those seizures with medicine, she wouldn't survive because breakthrough infection will kick her ass. There's no telling how strong these medicines have to be so she doesn't get another seizure and then she dies from the medication because there's too many T cells developing as a defense against the medicine. So what do? You put the animal down because you don't want them to suffer, or now you finally build the animal up and you have to figure out the food supply. Now you can use the canned food. Now you can find different foods that are high protein with fat and all the carbs and the grains and all the things that people are like, oh my God. Because you see on the other end of it, there are foods that are like grain-free and fat-free and diet, you know, food for your animal because they're so obese. And you're like, no. My husband accidentally got from Fresh Pet when I was doing that, the grain-free. I'm like, no, she needs the fucking grains. We don't want grain-free stuff. We don't want fat-free, gluten-free. No, she needs all the grains. She needs the higher protein. Now it's getting her to gain weight. Annie goes, that's what I went through with my Lyme. So glad I'm here. Yeah. So, you know, so I'm building my dog back up. And it's not easy, but you know how people out there, they make correlation equals causation. And when I gave her the J juice in her food, it was a couple years ago. That's when she went through all the predispositions. And I took her off because she was fine. Her fur is coming back and all that stuff. But she had to deal with the major of the tumor. She still has scar tissue in her belly from the tumors that she had operations on and also being spayed. And I noticed that mucus is coming out of her back end every so often when there's a new viral variant. She sleeps a lot more. She's not super active right now. But when I'm feeding her 3 times a day, and I'm hand feeding her 3 times a day, she drinks water. She's thirsty. She drinks water. It's not like she's just laying in bed and me just feeding her and giving her water. No. She's not sick, but her personality has changed. She's not super interested in food, so then I have to get her interested. So it is kind of like a puppy. If I had a bottle, that would be so much easier. But no, I want her to use her teeth. I want her to get her into the chewing. But she is like a baby now. And so I have to make sure that she gets the nutrients and the carbs and all the different fats in so that way she can survive this and get through. Because I feel great. You know, I mean, yesterday I felt the heat in my face, which knowing that I was exposed to something, whatever it was, and my body built its defense, and I blow my nose. And so that's how my body knows that it's under some kind of like new environment, under attack. Okay? So, and you have to blow your nose. Okay, so when man has no natural enemies, you must develop a natural enemy, and that's what's going on. Is that right now man is developing an enemy against man by using their microbes, by using their defense systems. But that's the only way you can curb man's replication. You know how many people out there are having children left and right? But you can't legislate and say, well, you can't have a kid and you can't have a kid, but you can have a kid, you can have a kid. We don't live in that kind of society. Maybe that is the future. And the only way they can curb that is then, you know, commandeering your reproductive system, developing viruses to do whatever it needs to do. But if your body is so strong and it's able to release the programming that's attacking your body's natural processes, you will develop a very balanced child. It'll happen naturally. If you understand all of your immune system and all of your body's defenses and how the food supply works and how everything works, and you don't use the therapies in the market, and you have a child simply because you were planning for it and it happened, and you understand what it takes to get the child's immune system and body leveling up as it goes through its different development stages, no one's going to tell you not to have, no one's going to say, oh my God, you shouldn't have that child, because you know your body's already balanced, that it's able to fight off the things that are trying to stop it from reproducing. Because that's what logic and reasoning, like the intelligence comes from understanding how to defend yourself when you're under attack. Intelligence comes from understanding how to respond to your first and second and third lines of defense. And so naturally you will develop an intelligent child and you'll be intelligently raising that child. It's those that are heavily into the therapies market, raising children, and they have so many diseases, raising children, and the kids are in decline, the parents are in decline, the grandparents are in decline. That's what the system is trying to curb, is that type of growth. Do I want to call them cancer? This is where you teeter on the ethics. You teeter on, you don't want to offend people. And so that's the Georgia Guidestones. And so if you don't want someone telling you when to have a kid, when not to have a kid, then maybe you should take care of yourself and survive all this. Remember, this is about survival of the fittest. This is the Hunger Games. You know, and you got to know when to eat a lot when you're exposed to a new variant and when your body doesn't need the food as much. Let me tell you, when I was exposed to an aggressive virus, I was eating chicken every single day. I was eating chicken. I was barbecuing chicken. I was broiling chicken. I was frying chicken. I was eating chicken every single freaking day. Because my body knew it had to go and replenish and recover from the attack. Because I produced a lot of mucus that time. I was sleeping a lot. Okay? I'm not really craving too much chicken today. I mean, I'm a little hungry, but I was a little more hungrier last night. But I'm going to, maybe eat a bagel with some cream cheese and drink my coffee and stuff. But when you have so much conflicting programming, you're going to have to eat, you're going to have to release, you're going to have to deal with every single pain that comes to surface. And it will look like a hive. I'll tell you, I went through the hives, I went through everything. I went through the rashes, I went through the headaches, I went through the UTIs, the yeast infections, the constipation, the hemorrhoids, skin issues come in and go, and the dry skin. No chicken. But chicken's good. Chicken's good. I went through it all. I went through the anxiety. I went through it all. Okay? And so you got to survive this, but you have to face your demons. And sometimes responding to those that attacked you 4 years ago in an intelligent way without really attacking them, but more of observing the way they behave in this world. Okay? Because yeah, I definitely was like observing the behaviors of these YouTube influencers that were exhibiting hunting for humans. You don't need a gun in our society, when you think about it, to destroy people. You can use the internet to destroy people. You can use your YouTube account to destroy people. You can use your Facebook account to destroy people. But there's a difference between destroying a person and destroying an industry. But the industries are made up of people. Yeah, people choose to work there or they don't choose to work there. And so when you go and attack an industry, you're not attacking the people, because the people need to understand the industries they work for. But they will look at it as an attack because they have mind melded themselves into the profession. They lost their sense of individualism, and now they are part of the collective in that industry. And so you don't want to attack people for their choices. You don't want to attack people for their belief systems. You attack the religion. You attack the politics. You attack the science, but not the person. And that's difficult because people look at themselves as their religion. You attack their religion, you attack them. That's not necessarily so. Because remember, politics, religion, and science are all the same. They're all religion. Because it's all about belief system and worshiping a person, place, or thing, or a microbe, or an element, or a protein, or demonizing it, calling it Satan, calling it whatever. And so, yeah, I'm attacking religion. I'm attacking the politics. I'm attacking the science, because science isn't always for the good of humanity. I mean, I guess you could say that using antibiotics on people who are not contributing is the good for humanity, but do I sometimes have feelings that I'm like, oh, I can't wait till the virus gets these people because I'm tired of dealing with them? Oh, I have those feelings. Is that right of me? Not necessarily right, but when you're under attack so much, you can't help but think about these things that, damn, well, we can't wait till this virus just takes them out. But I don't want to think that way about anyone. I want to give everybody a chance, even the Daryl Staples and the Jeff Holidays of the world. They can help and can help who they are. Okay? They're not intrinsically bad people. They really do mean well. Their delivery system is a lot to be desired, but hey, I wasn't exactly the most diplomatic person when I first started the J Juice, and even well into it. I could justify it, say I need to provide boundaries and this and that, but you go through a process, and then you do have to scale down your associations because they become too influential. Okay, but I don't think anyone out there is horrible. I think people get blinded by the money, because when you attack somebody, you get a lot of the social capital, because many people like the drama. They love the drama. And so I do notice when I do talk about certain people of the past, I get a lot more views because it's interesting, yeah, and it's a little titillating. But it really isn't for you guys. It was more for myself, but it was also for you. But it also helped me get more clarity in what I'm focusing on, because you need to get those juices going. That's what the J Juice does. That's what, facing demons is you get more clarity and you know that you can survive it. You know that you can be intelligent about it. It doesn't have to go to hand combat. People can express themselves, even if they express themselves badly, you can express yourself with your words instead of always going to blows with people. And sometimes words are very aggressive. Well, that's right now people are suffering. So while I don't like the fact that people attack me with their words, if I see those attacks and I read it, then I've allowed it in. So I allowed a little bit of the attacks in yesterday because I read a few emails and then I just ignored. I just delete spam, delete spam, delete spam. Because it comes through my spam mail. So I don't always look at my spam. I usually delete it. But for some reason yesterday, I decided to read the spam mail. I don't know why. It wasn't like I was playing, like it wasn't like saying, okay, I'm going to read this, because you don't know what's in your spam mail. Everything comes through when it comes through. You don't know. And I don't usually go through all the spam and look at every single one of them. No, if it's at the top, I might see a headline or something. But yesterday, for some reason, I decided to read the spam mail. And I read people's spam mail. And they were saying, and I just gritted my teeth. I read it. I responded a few times because I got the juices going. He responded back, got the juices going for him. Okay. I gave him my energy. He gave me his energy. Okay, great. I put it out on Facebook. And then I got clarity from that information. I got an amazing amount of clarity. And I was able to put things together even more succinctly because I get it now with the T cell receptors, the suppressors and the expressors. Sometimes we start with hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, not everyone survives the hand-to-hand combat. You don't want to destroy your enemy, but you want to edify them. But the destruction must be something chosen. That's what the Freemasons are all about, is that they're not going to be the one to dictate who lives and who dies, but they will give you so much information to make the choices that where you choose to pass away. You choose your own adventure and your destiny. And so we don't want to revert back to the caveman mentality. If I'm cornered, I'll defend myself, but I will never go to willingly hand-to-hand combat with somebody, because there's no point in doing that. That's the caveman mentality. And humans need to advance from that. And so that's why you use your words. That's why you get very well versed in the English language. You look at all the patterns of words and how you use them. And that takes a biochemical shift. And it's going to take a while for some people because they have so much conflicting program in their DNA and in their lymphatic system. And so you don't really want to go hand to hand, but not that it's necessary, but sometimes that's the only thing that you know how to do, because remember, humans came from a very base prototype, a caveman. And then they were edified, they were advanced by their edifiers. They were given information, they were given DNA, they were given viruses that advanced their intelligence. They still went to war with each other. They got smarter in their weapons. But why do some people don't want to go to war or fight? Why do some people know how to just defend themselves? Why is Switzerland neutral? Switzerland's fucking smart. Well, maybe they were meant to be smart. Maybe that was where everything started out, Switzerland. And then they decided to pit, the left and the right together, or pit them against each other. But you only defend yourself relative to the situation. That's why here in Ohio, if someone comes on your property, you can defend yourself. Well, no, if someone comes on your property, you tell them to go away. You tell them you have a gun and you tell them to go away. If they don't go away and they keep entering your property, now you can stand your ground here in Ohio. If they enter into your house, oh yeah, you have more than every license to stand your ground in Ohio. But if someone's running away from you, you don't shoot them. You don't do anything to go after them. If someone's running away from you, you don't run after them. And so this is the thing is that you don't attack. And even if you're provoked, you can respond without attacking somebody. But you don't always have to respond. It just depends on what you want to get across that day. So when it comes to hand-to-hand combat here in Ohio, we don't have hand-to-hand combat. You're not supposed to chase after a criminal. Only the police are supposed to do that. But you give a warning. I have an arm. Don't come on my property. Don't come any closer. Get away. Leave. If they don't do that and they keep doing what they're doing, well, you call the police. But you don't hurt somebody because they're breaking into your car. They don't really want to confront someone. Most people are not that stupid. They want the easy targets. They want people who leave their car doors open and unlocked with their purses and all their wallet and all their valuables. I still don't understand how people get their valuables taken out of their car. Why the hell will you leave them in the car with the car unlocked? People at the Ring doorbell, they see all their, their criminals coming into the yard asking this stuff. Thank God I don't live in certain parts of town. Well, that's not what I mean, hand-to-hand and protocols. I'm talking about hand-to-hand combat. I'm talking about hand-to-hand combat. When someone wants to do harm to you or steal your stuff, you will always defend yourself, not provoke an attack, not chase after someone who's running away. But people do that. They chase people that are running away sometimes. All right, I'm going to go, but I want you guys to know that there are two sides to the immune system, which is the T cells are always going to be. They are the limitations. They can be suppressed and they can be expressed. And there are T cell regulators and there are T cell that are allowed to then provide the limitations of the blueprint. The food supply is supposed to give you everything, but then you have to know that those T cells are not being used against your food supply because someone used it as a remedy. You're welcome, Annie. And so you don't know what you hold within. And so then you have to really understand the JJ Meta mentality and you have to watch who you're hanging out with. And this is why people are emaciated and becoming more emaciated and then falling apart because of their associations and they don't realize what they hold within. And why people also blow up and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because they have so many T cell expressors. There isn't something is eating. So like the HIV eating T cells, but which ones? I don't even know, but they're eating all the T cells. So they're taking away your, oh wait, that's right. They're taking away your immune system, your defense system, your ability to produce and your ability to protect. But but you still have, when someone is blowing up, they have something that's allowing their body to express without a regulation. All right. And it's not even no balance. It's because they have, well, I mean, yes, but it's even more than that. It's the fact that they haven't brought in the salt and the water and released those excess programming, and then they have to eat. And so we have to be well, I see what you're not going into that much depth doing the back and forth, but I hear what you're saying. But you'll get it. You'll get it. It takes a minute to really figure out how to talk about this. Okay? And so, but now you know the immune system can be programmed to attack anything it wants and allow things to grow as much or as little as the programming allows it. And when you're using the therapies market, you're turning your immune system into one big weaponized defense. And not even defense, but one big weapon that someone else will have to defend against. And that's how the system is used, your friends and family against your own immune system. That's fucking strategic. You got to hand it to them. Now you got to strategically get yourself out of that. All right, bye.